Hey everybody, we've come to the middle of this week. We're in the third chapter of Psalms, Psalm 3. So go ahead and open your Bible there. And before I share with you what spoke to my heart, I want to maybe help you understand how to accurately read and interpret, understand the Psalms. Each of the Psalms, you need to think of it as a poem. It's poetry, Hebrew poetry. And it was poetry that was meant to be chanted or to be sung with musical instruments. But Hebrew poetry is different than English poetry. Here in America and in the West, we think of poetry, we think about rhymes. You know, the words at the end of sentences need to rhyme, or there's a certain meter or rhythm to them. Hebrew poetry was very, very different. And that's why when you read this, it doesn't rhyme a lot. And so you think, well, why is this poetry? Well, it's Hebrew poetry, and it's translated into English, which makes a difference. But in Hebrew poetry, the focus is on the relationship between two sentences, two lines, two statements. What do they say? And so one statement may say one thing, and to balance it, the next statement says the same thing but in a slightly different way, or one statement makes states a truth, and the second sentence states the opposite truth. There's a contrast, or sometimes lines are repeated for impact. So Hebrew poetry is really, really different than English poetry. And I guess the best thing I could say to help you as you read and try to understand the Psalms is to know that each Psalm has a theme. So what is the big picture? What is the big theme in that particular Psalm? And don't get hung up on trying to find a meaning for every phrase or every word in the Psalm, because it's poetry. If you focus on every word or every phrase, you're going to create problems for yourself because you're making it say what it's not saying. The theme, the truth is in the contrast or the repetitive nature or the balance between the statements. So what is the big theme? What is the big picture? If you do that, more often than not, you will accurately read and understand the Psalms. Now, Psalm 3 is, as an example, is a psalm about King David, trusting God when he had enemies who were rebelling against him, and because he trusted God, he could sleep peacefully at night. And the introduction to the psalm, before you get to verse 1, is a psalm of David when he fled from Absalom, his son. So the psalm was written by David during the time that his son Absalom led a national rebellion against David, trying to take the throne from his father. And that's the situation that is alluded to in the first two verses. O Lord, how my adversaries have increased, and many are rising up against me. Many are saying of my soul, and that's a word for life, not just the soul or the spirit, but your life, your existence. Remember, man became a living soul, a living being in Genesis. And he says there is no deliverance for him in God. So the situation was this. The people of Israel, under the influence of Absalom, were rebelling against David as king, and they were thinking, David's done for. There's no way for him to be delivered at the end of verse 2. David is going to lose. Absalom's rebellion is winning. David's in trouble. And David's response, verses 3 and following, but you, O Lord, are a shield about me, my glory, and the one who lifts my head. I was crying to the Lord. By the way, when you're going through challenges, don't be afraid to cry to the Lord. Take it to him. Pour out your heart. I was crying to the Lord with my voice, and he answered me from his holy mountain. Notice verse 5. This is the verse that spoke to my heart. This is the verse I love. I lay down and slept, and I awoke. So the next morning I wake up, for the Lord sustains me, and I will not be afraid. I love the image that David, during this time of national crisis, rebellion, betrayal by his own son, goes to God and pours his heart out. And because he turns to God and he trusts God, pours his heart out to God, he's able to go to bed and sleep peacefully. What does worry do? Keeps us awake at night. What does fear do? Makes it hard to sleep. But what does turning to Jesus in prayer and trust and faith and openness and just pour it all out, what does it do? It empties us of the fear. It empties us of the worry so we can go to bed and actually sleep. And David, when he woke up, in the next several verses, expected that God would take care of him, and God did. By the way, you read about this rebellion back in 2 Samuel, I believe it's chapters 15, 16, 17, 18, in that area. And David's smaller army eventually defeated Absalom and the rebellion. God did take care of them. But I just love that image. If I can't sleep, you know what I need to do? Just get on my knees and spend some time with Jesus. If I can't sleep because I'm worried, I can't sleep because I'm afraid, get out of bed, get on my knees, talk to Jesus, and then go back to bed and sleep like a baby. Why don't you try it and see what happens? Hey, God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow.